We welcome to the program now Colonel Mark Prine, retired Special Project and President of the Mississippi Armed Forces Museum Board. Colonel, always good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Welcome. We're glad to have you all today.
Well, we're glad to be here. The museum, every time I see it, it seems like I see something new. And once again, I'm just reminded of what an exquisite facility this is and what a great job it does of capturing Mississippi's storied history in the armed forces. It's incredible.
It is, and it's like to say sometimes it's kind of a hidden gem. But we're trying to get the word out to make sure that people are understanding, because there's so many people who go to visit New Orleans, who go to the Gulf Coast, who go to Mobile or Pensacola going to the beach, and we're right here at the intersection where all those highways run together. So why not stop, take a couple of hours, and spend some time learning about the great Mississippians who have made such contributions to our nation. And
that's a distinction, isn't it, Colonel, that we're focused on Mississippians featured in the museum?
It is, and we've kind of always had a lot of Mississippians that we featured, but now as we're working on and gathering more information, we're working on an exhibit coming up that talks about Mississippians who have made contributions after their service, before their service. And the list, we're at a couple of hundred people now, and I'm looking at names kind of going, I've never heard of this person before, but come to find out that you're just phenomenal careers after their service or before their service in the military.
Yeah, no doubt. What about families whose loved ones, whose family members are featured or curated in the museum? Have you ever talked to them about their experience when they come through and see their family members featured?
I certainly have, and had an opportunity to work with a lot of families who are donating artifacts or would like to do something with their loved ones' artifacts. Because you got to remember, for a lot of the Mississippians who paid the ultimate sacrifice, they were very young, so there's not a spouse, there's not a children. If that happened in World War I or World War II or even Vietnam, their parents have passed away now. It's great nieces and nephews that are showing up with a box and saying, hey, can you help us figure this out? Yeah. And it's so nice talking to them. I had the chance to visit in George County here recently with the family of Geraldine Horn. Tech Sergeant Horn served in World War II as a WAC overseas, and her family is going through her artifacts now, and we're working with that. She's probably one of the more highly decorated women from World War II. She received the Bronze Star from General Mark Clark for her service in Italy.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And I know that I've been before doing the show on Memorial Day when we've had Gold Star parents.
Yes.
Loved ones as well, and that's always emotional, and frankly can be a bit of a difficult interview for me to get through. You're so moved by their experience and honestly their bravery, but it's so good that we recognize them here at that event.
It is, and and talking with family members, I read their stories, and in my mind, they are Sergeant somebody or Colonel or Lieutenant somebody. And you're talking to their family members, and they refer to them as Mom or Dad or, Aunt so-and-so or, and it's phenomenal to be able to connect at that level and keep those memories alive.
Incredible. So in addition to adding new exhibits, are there some cases, Colonel, where we're just improving or enhancing existing exhibits? We get new information, new artifacts?
We do. We have been on the summer has been a lot of artifact discovery here over the past few months, and we're enhancing because we're able to find more artifacts that help tell the story. We're able to find more information that tells the story. I was mentioning to Alex earlier, as you talk about the global war on terror, so much of that is captured on videotape, and you're able to present that on the screen so that when you're talking about Fallujah or whatever, there's news footage coverage that you're able to present.
Yeah.
And so technology has helped change the way we present that quite a bit, and plus, like I tell Tommy, people show up at the front desk with a box and say, here, help. And so we're able to find artifacts that help tell us those stories.
Yeah, well, as it relates to that, is the museum or the curators, are they proactive in trying to research and approach people that may have these artifacts in their possession and they know the history of folks that they've researched, or is it reactive or combination?
A combination of both, but we've gotten some really proactive because you'll have people who come through the museum and say, hey, do you know the story of, and they'll mention something, and so we'll start doing a little bit of digging. Had that happen this morning when I was speaking in Columbia. Somebody came up and said, you need to check out this guy, his story from World War War I. And so we'll start doing that. We have an artifact that we're working with right now that we had found a picture of in a book, and we started doing some digging to try and find out where it was, if it still existed. It did, and have been able to work with the people who had it to allow us to be able to, after some restoration work, display here.
Veterans Day, of course, tomorrow. And a question I have for you is this kind of unique to this country that we carve out a day where we recognize and we celebrate and we express gratitude to our veterans? I don't recall ever seeing any such celebrations or events associated with veterans, commemorating veterans in any other nations. Is that kind of a unique American thing?
It's unique in America. I've seen the British do this also.
Okay.
They call it Remembrance Day.
Makes sense.
So, so we've had when I was in Afghanistan, had a chance to attend a Remembrance Day ceremony out at Camp Bastion, where the British were set up in western Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I got to meet a young man by the name of Harry Windsor at the time. Was in country, and now he's living here in the States with his wife. So, but it was. I think it's kind of an interesting concept that we do commemorate those people who have made such a sacrifice of their lives and their, just put their lives on hold to serve their nation.
Yeah. How important is that, Colonel, as a veteran, and to the many members of our armed forces that are veterans that you interact with? How important is that our country recognizes them?
I think it's very important, and it's important to the veterans themselves because, whether their service ended a week ago or whether it ended decades ago, just for somebody to reach out and say thank you for your service and thank you for what you've done for our nation. I think it's also very important to, as I think about Veterans Day, as I think about families that have supported those veterans over the years, because those families sacrifice for the veterans to be able to do what they do. I mean, it's not many careers where you come home and go, oh, by the way, honey, I'm going to be gone for 14, 16, 18 months. Just kind of keep it going while I'm gone kind of thing. And it's so important to remember those family members as well who have sacrificed so those veterans can serve.
Definitely. And we should also point out that in this country, civilians essentially dictate the military.
Yes.
Military and these veterans, you may or may not agree with the cause that they were fighting for and their service and whatever that happened to be, especially those that were involved in wars and conflicts. But they're just doing a job they're told to do.
Exactly. You find out from somebody way up the chain that makes a decision that's going to affect your life, but, you do what they ask you to do because that's what you signed up for. You got to remember, we weren't drafted into this. Yeah. Our veterans have all volunteered for this. I mean, in the past, think about the global war on terror, as long as it was, those were all volunteers. Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, when's the last time we had a draft? Did we end that in the late 60s, early 70s, it seems like?
About the time Vietnam was ended.
Yeah, that's correct. 72, essentially, when that ended. And since then, we haven't.
Right.
How's that looking? We see so many reports about just shortfalls in hitting the recruiting targets. Mm-hmm. How are we looking there?
My understanding is that they're still out there recruiting aggressively. There's some specialty areas that are really in need of right now. So the recruiters are actively out there looking for young men and women who would like to serve their nation.
And let's talk about Camp Shelby in the little time we got left. This is a pretty critical part of our overall military ecosystem.
It is. We used to be, for the longest time, were May through August kind of place where people came to train for the summer National Guard. When we went to the Joint National Training Capacity designation several years ago, we're now, I think last year was 360 out of 365 days we had people here training on the ground.
Wow.
And major exercises, because it's not just the National Guard that trains here. It's every branch of service. An awful lot of agencies from federal and state government train here as well because of as much space as we have, not only on the ground but the airspace above us too. So it becomes quite a demand.
It's amazing when you think about it. The people from, honestly, all over the world that have been right here on Camp Shelby.
Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the funniest stories I heard this summer was we have a USO here. And had some people from not a foreign country technically, but Massachusetts,
Yeah.
And we had some of our local volunteers trying to teach them how to eat a boiled peanut. So, it makes for interesting.
So we sort of integrate them into Mississippi culture.
They get the heat, they get the mosquitoes, and they get boiled peanuts.
That's awesome. Colonel, always good to see you, sir, and appreciate you for your service and your work here with the Armed Forces Museum. I'm sure we'll be talking to you some more, and we appreciate you having Super Talk here today as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yep, we're coming right back, folks, with more. We're in the Element Wealth studio at Mississippi Armed Forces Museum on Camp